from where you at. I came here for vengeance, watch your back. No need to defend, I'm on attack. Sorry they can't reply, but I guarantee they had a blast. Pop, 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 I be on the next only, yeah, I am fresh to death.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Long Haul Mentality. I'm your host, as always, Nick Bagley, and today I got my homie Taylor Moore on. How are you, dude?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me on.
I just about messed up my own intro. I paused real hard on
that. They won't even notice.
I've been saying it every week, every time I do this. You'd think I'd have it down by now.
Yeah. How many episodes have you done so far?
I don't know, man. I'd have to go back and count. I haven't been numbering them or anything. I don't think anyone cares, but
no, they don't.
I've been doing at least one a week for quite some time now. So I've got a number of them banked, and honestly, it's just a lot of fun. Like just being able to talk to my friends who I don't get to see often, or even if I do get to see them often, it's usually in short spurts. You don't ever get to sit down with people for an hour and just talk about something you enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's me and Nick Justice started one as well, just more so for that reason, because he lives across the country, and it's like we never get to see each other, but we can hop on a podcast, once a week, and also have people on who are in the same area and stuff like that. So that's really cool.
Yep. Great way to kind of learn some stuff too. And it's fun in general. So like, even if this thing doesn't ever get to a certain point on views, it's like, I just enjoy doing it. So
exactly. It's more so a passion project.
Yeah. You said you're at your grandparents right now. Where do they live?
Yeah. So they're in Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
Yep. In South Carolina. And then I live in Wilmington. So it's only about an hour away. Yeah. But so I'm at the beach too, but they're down here obviously for Labor Day. My mom's birthday is tomorrow and stuff like that. So we just all piled up at my grandparents' beach house for the weekend.
Nice, dude. I'm from North Carolina, so I'm from the Raleigh area.
Okay, got you. I didn't know that. Yeah. So I'm originally from Danville, Virginia.
Yeah, I know Danville.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You might know my ex. That's hilarious.
Oh, geez. Yeah, so I'm from Danville, and then went to Virginia Tech, and then ended up moving. I moved a couple places actually. I lived in Georgia and outside of Atlanta for a couple months with Cameron Cheek actually.
Nice.
And then I moved to Tampa for a couple months. I just didn't like it there. It wasn't really my vibe. So then I came back to Virginia, and then my grandparents bought the beach house down here. So I was like, you know what? I'm moving to the beach, and I've been here ever since.
I can say this because my parents live in Tampa. Tampa's all old people.
Yeah, it's either that or super party.
Yeah.
Too much. Yeah, it's too much for me.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so I'm from the Raleigh area. I'm from Clayton, North Carolina, and then I went to UNC Greensboro. So I was in Greensboro until I decided to move to Texas. So
you were close to the good old Danville then.
Yes, I was. That's why I said you might know my ex. Like she was from Danville. That's funny, but I haven't heard that town name in a long time.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So you guys I try not to.
Yeah, right. You guys just dominated fucking North Americans this last weekend, huh?
Man, it was a great week. Mike and I were just talking about this yesterday, I think, and Mike and Dom Kuza, and Mike actually posted something about it on his story. But it's like, dude, the last couple national shows, it's just been like just bang on for us, and it's such an environment thing that you don't really realize it until you look back. It becomes an expectation almost, and it's just like, oh wow, we did it again. But then we were sitting there talking with Dom the other day, and he was adding up, he has the blueprint or whatever, and he has I think 100 and some people in it, and he was adding up how many pro cards he has for the year. Yeah, and he was like, yeah, I think I have like 17 or 18. So I sat back and I started thinking about it. I was like, wait, I have 3. Mike has 5. Lacey, who is my other best friend, has 6. I was like, dude, that's crazy. We have like 14 out of the 17 pro cards in your
that's awesome.
Year.
But yeah, it's one of those things that I keep telling people, man. What Dom's doing with the blueprint and before that with his mentorships and all that stuff, like it's the real deal. And like
it is.
I would consider 2022, 2023 to be like my first real year's prep coaching. And the number one thing I can attest my change in coaching to is getting linked up with Dom. Like it's the best thing that I ever did. So, and now the blueprint, like he's got all of his knowledge in one spot, and it's just like a ridiculous amount of stuff. So
it is.
I had to I kind of had to get the rust off this past weekend because I've only put 2 athletes on stage so far this year, and I had my UK guy getting on stage, so I had to go through and like look through all Dom's peaking stuff again. It's like,
Yeah.
let me make sure I know how
Yeah.
to do my job again.
It's always the first one of the year, dude. It's like, oh God, you
Yeah,
just get so worked up and nervous for it, or the first couple of the year, really, and then it's like,
yeah.
okay, now I'm good. Now I can breathe.
Yeah, right. It's like every time you make a decision, a couple hours later, you're like, am I an idiot? Do I not know what I'm doing?
Yes, I was the
Yeah.
same way at the beginning. Me and Mike, obviously, Nassif, we talk every day. He's my best friend, but um, like it's always the beginning of the year comes, and he's like, "Man, I think I forgot how to peak," and I'm like, "Bro, you didn't forget how to peak," and he's like, "No, no, I think I did," and I'm like, "Bro, once you get into your groove, you'll be good, but
You'll
then
be
after
good.
that, it's like it's good."
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, I mean the only 2 people I put on stage were back in April. So like I mean we're
Okay,
now sitting in August and well September shit at this point. And
yeah,
Zach's a super heavy planning on doing the amateur Olympia. So it's like this is the first like we started 16 weeks out from this show and well yeah 16 weeks out from the amateur Olympia and like I haven't peaked him before.
yeah,
He's told me that he's always had a hard time getting dry and that sort of thing. So there was a lot of kind of writing on this of like how is his body going to respond?
yeah,
And we also knew that he wasn't like 100% shredded yet. Like we're all we needed to do was show up to a show so he could go to the amateur Olympia.
for sure.
But for him not being 100% peeled, he responded beautifully to the peaking. And it was like, all right, this is some really solid data we can use to go to the amateur O. So I'm very excited for what we get to do there.
That's awesome, man.
I assume you're going to the Olympia, right?
Um, we were talking about it. I don't think I am, man, because I've been traveling so much this year. It's like way, 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 way too much. And don't get me wrong, like I love it. It's amazing. But and you just get to the end and you're like, oh, you're just like,
Yeah. It's a
this
lot.
final stretch. So like I only have a couple more shows to go to this year. I have a San Diego show coming up in a couple weeks that I'm going to. I have two regional guys in San Diego, and then I have a qualifier in Virginia. I have nationals, and I think those are the only big three that I'm going to. But I also have like, do you know who Mike Crowson is? The AR
No,
funnels.
I
Okay,
don't.
so he lives in Dallas. He runs like a it's basically a CRM system that's
Mhm.
label or white labeled for fitness coaches. So I'm coaching him, and he does so like Justin Mahaley uses his platform, a bunch of the big guys in Texas, but his headquarters are in Dallas, and he's calling it Lead Summit. It's like a mastermind. So I'm going there in October as well. So it's just a lot of travel, and I'm like, I don't know. And to be honest with you, like every time I go to the Olympia, it's more of just to hang out with friends than it is actually the show.
Yeah,
Because
right.
I never have anybody doing the amateur O. So it's just like, do I really want to spend all that money just to go out there and hang out with friends? I think I'm gonna skip it
Yeah,
this year.
100%. Let me know when that thing in October is. I'm going to see if I want to see if I can try to be there. But like you've had a lot of travel the first half of the year. I have a lot of travel the second half of the year. Like I just counted. I have 8 people competing between now and
Jeez.
the end of the year, and it's like
Yeah,
I'm traveling to almost all of them. There's only a couple that I'm not going to, but a couple pretty big ones. So it'll be a lot of like travel back and forth here and there for a little bit. So
for sure.
it's a little bit hectic.
Do you try to go to a lot of regional shows and stuff?
If I can, I will.
Yeah,
But the thing is, man, is like the thing that I don't have in common with you guys is I have a child.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
absolutely.
know Dom is in that boat with me as well. But
Yep,
I'm also a single dad, so it's like Dom can leave his kids with his wife or whatever and go. But me and my son's mom and his grandmother on that side, we have a good relationship. So if I need to get
that's
stuff done,
great.
I can. But I just try not to travel if I don't have to because I'd like to have as much as I can. So
Yeah.
I just go to the shows that I typically have clients in. I'm not usually going to go to something that I don't have clients in.
For sure. Yeah, that's
But
how I am, man. And I'm starting to cut back on the regional shows a little bit just because at the end of the day, you know what it costs to travel to a show.
you're
So
right.
like, and I had this talk with a couple of my athletes this year, really my whole team. I sent out a message, but like it just doesn't make sense for me to go to a show if someone is not paying my entire way there.
Yeah.
And at the regional level, it's not like most people don't need their coach there. So I've kind of been cutting back on it a little bit too because I'm just getting, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to end up doing next year as well because as of right now, it's like I've got a lot of my athletes sitting on the bench for off season that are going to compete next year. And I already know a few that are on the schedule, and I've got 2 pros that are going to compete next year. So like, I know that I'm going to be going around to a lot of different places. So I'm probably going to end up sending out. The only thing is, like, I'm in Texas, and like we have from April to the end of the year, we have a show like every other weekend. So and I'm close enough to a lot of them that I can just drive to them. So I don't have to get hotels and that kind of stuff. So I'll usually go to those, but it just depends on like what the schedule and stuff looks like, especially if I've got the little man. He's hard to handle when we're in rooms filled with people.
Absolutely. I think it was nationals last year or something. You had to get back to him or something like that, wasn't it? I think it was the second day of nationals or something.
Yeah. There's always something going on, but
for sure.
So this will be kind of a good transition into one of our topics, because we're already talking about the coaching side of things. We always talk about helping athletes stay in a good headspace in order to get progress, right? Whether it's off season, prep, a health phase, whatever. Something that I don't think we've focused on a lot is the mindset and health, mental health of the coaches, right? Because one of the things that we chatted about quickly before we started this is like me sitting back here watching, having a slower year, and watching a lot of my friends like you guys doing so well at all these shows, and like you've got people every other weekend, and you've got people turning pro and people winning overalls and all this stuff. You start to sit back and you go, well, damn, it's not me. I'm not getting that. And that can be a really mentally taxing place, and it's kind of, it's interesting that Dom put it up today, but he made that post about never let a loss get to your head, or never let a win get to your head, or a loss to your heart. I have it written on the board over there. So it's literally what I've had to do this whole year of like, look, just because you're not putting a ton of people on stage right now doesn't mean anything. It comes and goes in waves. So how long have you actually been prepping people? Going to take a quick break from the podcast to bring a few things to your attention. First off, as I was going through the YouTube analytics, I noticed that almost 70% of my watchers are not subscribed. So if you're watching this right now, please do me a favor and click that subscribe button. Every single time I get a new subscriber, comments, likes, and shares, this helps spread the podcast more, and I really, really appreciate you guys. This podcast has no paid sponsorships, so the best way for you to support my channel is to support my sponsors. So Labrada Pro Series is my supplement sponsor. We have a full line of products with some new ones coming. The pre-workout is on the way right now, and the new Labrada Nutrition RTD pre-workout is about to hit the market as well. On top of Labrada Pro Series, I also have Gasp and Better Bodies, and then I also have Authentic Aminos. Please go support these companies. Use my code Bagley10 for Labrada Pro Series, Bagley15 for Gasp and Better Bodies, and Bagley for Authentic Aminos. Thanks, guys. Let's get back to the podcast.
So actually, it's funny. I'm so what I consider the stereotypical prep coach. I did my first show, and then I started coaching competitors. Now, I obviously did it the right way. It was my first athlete ever was October of 2021. That was Parker, who just won his pro card at USA's this year. And so I put him on stage October 2021, and then I've been basically prepping people every year since. Now it was obviously slow at the start. For the first 2 years, man, like I was doing like 1, 2, maybe 3 shows a year. And really those were just Parker. And then I started to finally pick up. So I totally get what you're saying, and not to go off topic here, but it was like,
no, go ahead.
I got very blessed early on to be around the people that I was around with Cam and Dom. And that was when those two or especially Dom, was really in his prime with coaching. It wasn't just, it wasn't so much education. It was producing. And the Camp Jansen crew and stuff, just being around those guys, and they were killing it. It was like, man, like, when am I going to get my turn? When is this going to happen to me? And it wasn't even that I was having a slow year. It was like, I literally didn't have the athletes yet. I didn't have the potential on my roster. And it just, it was very, very tough, because I was like, man, mate, like you start to second guess it a little bit. You start to question it, but, and then it started obviously picking up momentum and stuff like that. So, Yeah, man. To answer your question, it's been 4.5 years now since I've started actually putting people on stage. About 4 years.
Yeah, I had one person I put on stage in like 2020 or something like that, 2019 maybe, and then didn't really have anything for a long time. I was mostly just personal training and working with lifestyle people. And then the first few handful of people I put on stage was in 2022. And then
Okay.
23 is when it really picked up. And then 24 has been my biggest year so far. And now we're in 25. So I'd call it 3.5 years, something like that I've been prep coaching. And like you know how it goes. It's like you'll have people that'll be an awesome client who has so much potential, but then all of a sudden something happens and they step away or whatever it might be. And it's like there's been a few moments like that where it's like it's right there. I'm about to do something and then something happens. Like the biggest one
Absolutely.
that I feel like I've talked about too many times at this point is Chase blowing out his bicep 2 weeks before nationals last year. You know,
Yeah.
I had a heavyweight going into the show that could have done really, really, really well. Um, and he unfortunately tore that bicep, but now ultimately that's actually probably going to be something really big for us because
Mhm.
now that he's healed and back to rolling, it's like we're putting some really good size on him and he's going to make a run again next year. So um, it just comes in ebbs and flows. And like, again,
Does.
it always comes back to that same thing that I feel like I've said a million times is like, you stop trying to control what you can't. You know,
Mhm.
it's like, I can't control who comes to me and who doesn't. All I can
Exactly.
control is who we end up putting on stage. And I got to show up that day, you know?
Yep. And I think a big thing with this too is something that's underestimated is we talk about like being in a circle of winners, those people who are producing, those people who are doing, the stuff at the top levels, but like you also need to be in a circle of people, even, they can be winners, but not be supportive, because that's a big thing with Mike Nassif is, again, my best friend. He's always somebody that pulls me back down to earth when I'm feeling that way. Dom has always been great about it. And it's crazy. He just posted that today. He told me that quote back in like 2023, or 2022 or something when I first started like mentoring with him. He was like, "Never let a win get to your head, never let a loss get to your heart," and it's just something that stuck with me ever since. And that's, you know, again, we talk about the being in a circle of winners. You also need to be in a circle of people who are supportive of you when you're not winning, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep your mental in a good spot. And just having that support is everything.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree, man. And it's a very important thing. And like, I moved to Texas originally just to be around bodybuilding, and little did I know what that was going to lead to, and like the people I'd be around, and the contacts I would make, and that sort of thing. But it was like even for my bodybuilding when I was still competing, it was such a big jump for me to be able to be around people who were just a little bit better than me. Not to mention like pros and Olympians and all that kind of stuff. It's like you get that extra bit, and it's like, oh shit, there's a lot here,
Yeah.
you know. And then
Yeah.
as those connections build and whatnot, you start to get friends with the coaches because that's the direction you're going in. Is like I knew I wasn't going to be an Olympian. I knew I probably was
Hmm.
never going to be a pro. So it's like, let me get to know the coaches. Let me chat with these guys. Let me make these connections and have friends within this so that like I don't just show up to these shows bored out of my mind.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and it's crazy too, because like a lot of my friends, I'm in small town. Well, I was in small town Virginia when I first started coaching. Like my friends and stuff have always been Dom's in Michigan, Mike's in Florida, Cam
Mhm.
was in Georgia, you know, Jarek is in California, Lacey's in Louisiana. So it's funny because I haven't been, I'm not in the bodybuilding environment, but it's just like still the people that I talk to and are the closest with are in the bodybuilding environment. But it's just, it's created like I'm kind of like a hermit crab. But so when I go to shows is when I get to hang out with my friends, even
Yeah,
though it's work,
exactly.
it's also like the time that I get to like, be with my people. So
Yep.
it works out.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that's really helped me out here recently is understanding that the value of a coach isn't necessarily how many pro cards they can write in their bio or how many overalls they can write in their bio. It's that value is great. Like
Mhm.
obviously that says a lot, right? But you and I both know a lot of coaches who are doing an awesome job at this that just haven't gotten that opportunity yet. Because
Absolutely.
the unfortunate part of bodybuilding is you can be doing everything right and continue to lose,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
It's just the reality.
we talk about it all the time. It's really a luck of the draw of who you
Yep.
get, right? Like Matt Jansen, let's be honest, probably wouldn't have gotten the opportunities he did if he didn't have Dallas McCarver.
100%.
Um, there. Cam, for example, the first, I think, 5 athletes he coached, and I could be saying this really wrong, but it's pretty close. The first 5 he coached, 4 of them turned pro in the first year that he was coaching them, right? Others like Dom, he coached. He's obviously one of the smartest people I know, the one of the best coaches there is, and he really didn't get his opportunity until he was a few years in. With AJ winning the national overall in men's physique was kind of his first like big win.
Hmm.
Mike and I were actually talking about this the other day. Mark Tomanek is he's so smart. He's a incredible coach, but like he he's always like second or third, and it's like, but now that being said, he doesn't do shitty shows. He doesn't have shitty athletes. They all show up to really good shows, and there's just always some type of animal that's in his people's class, and it's like,
Yeah.
you really can't use those wins as an indicator of the success at all. I
Nope.
100% agree with you there.
Yeah. And it's not only is that difficult for athletes to understand, but it's also really hard for the coaches to understand. It's like, just because you're not winning every single show that you enter doesn't mean that you're bad at this. It doesn't mean you need to quit. It's like the real wins of our jobs are those messages that we get about like how we change somebody's life, or how you help them with a health problem or something they never thought they'd be able to do. It's like those are the real wins to this. And the people who matter are just the people you're working with, right? Like what they believe you to be is what truly matters, because that's your
Mhm.
reputation. That's what precedes you. So like, it is awesome to be able to celebrate wins with clients and celebrate wins with your coaching friends and stuff. But just because you're in a season where things aren't going your way doesn't mean that you just need to hang up your hat. It means you are being tested to find out if you truly love this, right? And
And
that's go
go ahead.
ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think another thing to touch on that, and really the mental health aspect of a coach, is today's social media world makes it look like everyone is just doing crazy stuff,
Right,
right? Like
right.
it's just so, I would, obviously I'm younger. I'm not even 25 years old yet, but I got I
Make
got
me
into
feel old.
coaching. I got into coaching, before, like, the pre, it was like during the midst of COVID, but like the pre-COVID stage of coaching. And it's like, what's up, buddy? um
Hi, Taylor. You gonna be shy?
so it was like the more organic style, and the people that I was surrounding myself with, it was the more organic style of coaching, whereas today it's all social media, it's all marketing, it's all how much, who can make the most money. There's all these business coaches out here that are flaunting their 50 100 grand months, right? So it's like, that really, I feel like, weighs on coaches too, where, and it makes it hard to just sit back and be patient and know that your time is coming as well.
Stop. Yeah, for sure. And like that's such a great point that you brought up there, is like, I feel like so many people, if they can't like write something in their bio that says I've helped thousands of people, or I have 200 athletes on my roster, that they suck. It's like that's not the case at all. Like I know people who have hundreds of athletes, but
They
they just
suck.
have nothing but a headache, right?
Yeah.
It
Yep.
sucks.
Yep.
And like that's great that they have hundreds of athletes, but maybe they don't enjoy it because they have to deal with that many people, and just because somebody can say something online, one, doesn't mean it's real, and two, doesn't show you the whole picture, right? Like
Hmm.
you don't know what they did to get there, you don't know how long it took, all those kinds of things. So, and the other aspect of this is we have to just shift perspective when you are in those times of things not going your way, is like, I'm going to celebrate my friends. I'm going to
Hmm.
tell you, I'm going to tell Dom, I'm going to tell Mike, I'm going to tell Justin Jacoby, I'm going to tell all these guys that I've become friends with, like, dude, great job. Right. Because then when that time finally comes, they're going to be there to support me, because support's not a one-way street. You can't just expect people to show up for you just when you need it. Like, you
Yep.
got to be willing to be there for those people. And if they're actually your friend and not someone who you're just trying to attach onto because you want some clout, it's
Mhm.
like you need to be there to support them in those times, because then it's going to be that much more fun for you when you can finally win, because those people are going to remember that and do the same for you.
Exactly, exactly. And another thing to revert back a little bit about, the hundreds of clients. It's so funny that you say that, because I'm kind of going through this time now where it's like my roster started growing really, really fast, but with the not the right types of people, if that makes sense. And this is like
Mm.
no offense to anybody that I've been working with over the last year. Um, And it's just like, you can have 150 clients, but if only 40 of them are like actually checking in each week, actually making
Yep.
progress, actually doing what you ask them to, they're the only ones that you enjoy. The rest of them are kind of just a headache. They're just like, because at the end of the day, I don't want people who are just paying my bills. I want people who
Nope.
are making progress and giving me fulfillment. That's why I started coaching, is because I wanted, or I found that fulfillment that is much higher than anything that I could achieve myself personally within bodybuilding,
100%.
so it's like, that's, and so I'm going through this time now where it's like, so I just teamed up with, um, I joined, it's kind of like a partnership deal, but I'm just sure you know who Matt Cusano is.
I don't know.
No? Do you know of Rise HRT?
Yes.
Yeah. So he owns Rise HRT. Big
Very cool.
functional health guy. Him and Austin Stouter are,
Awesome.
um, or business partners or whatever. But
Yeah.
I just joined his team, basically taking over as head coach, because he had been just putting a lot of focus into Rise, and he still sees a lot of potential with his team, because he's been coaching for over 10 years now. He's had his team for over 10 years.
Right.
But I say that because the biggest aspect to me doing that was trying to take care of 80, 90, 100 clients, athletes, at the same time of having to take care of the admin work, the back end, the marketing, trying to keep up with today's marketing and stuff like that. It just started to burn me out, man. So I'd pull my roster back a lot. Like
Yep.
I got rid of, not really got rid of, but filtered out probably 20 to 30 people. And I'm good with sitting exactly where I'm at right now, at a little bit higher of a price point, but coaching the people that I actually genuinely enjoy coaching, and are bringing me that fulfillment that I originally got into coaching for. So everyone, when I was first starting, it was like, oh, I want 100 clients. I want 100 clients. I want 100 clients. Well, then you get to 100 clients, and it's like, okay, do I really want 100 clients? Is it worth the headache? I make good enough money to pay my bills. That's really
Right.
all that matters at the end of the day. I need to revert back to my passion and actually having fun with it. And I think that a lot of coaches, like mental health, or their mindset with coaching is always, especially when they're starting out, or going through slow periods, it's like, more, 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 more isn't
Mhm.
always better.
Yep. No, I mean that goes for so many aspects of life. It's like they're always. I commend you first off for cutting back on that and recognizing that like it was something that you needed to do, because it
Hmm.
it feels like there comes a point in a coach's career where you get to a spot like that where all of a sudden your roster starts exploding because your name is getting out there more, and more people are seeing your results and those kinds of things, and then you start taking everybody on because
Hmm.
back when you were trying to get a bunch of athletes, that's what you had to do.
Yeah.
But if you continue to do that and you just keep bringing on everybody that reaches out to you, you get to this point where like, okay, well now what do I do? I can't handle all these people. So let me hire another coach.
Yep.
Right. And it turns into this thing that it shouldn't be, where this is where we start to see coaches go away from actually enjoying coaching and doing it because they love it, to now it's how do I make more money from this? And then
Exactly.
it turns into the scammy pyramid scheme thing that we've seen a million times from a million different places that I've
Absolutely.
literally been in the middle of.
Yep.
Right. And we all have those horror stories and those kinds of things. So it's like you got to realize that, like, yeah, you can make a lot of money with coaching, but at some point you're going to need to diversify that into something else, because you're not, if your plan is to be like absolutely loaded, it's not going to come from coaching, because
No,
you're going to
and
burn
it's,
yourself out before you do that.
yeah, it's not sustainable whatsoever. Like the guy, Hani Rambod didn't make all of his, sure, he made a really good amount of money from coaching, but like, he didn't do it from coaching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of athletes at one time. He got his name out there enough to where he could charge what he wanted to be able to charge, and
Yep.
people would pay it. But he had other avenues with Evogen, and Chris Aceto is a big real estate guy, but and that's how they've kept the longevity of what they do, and coaching people at a high level, is because they didn't do too much at once.
Yes.
It took them a while. They built up to it, but they were also putting, focus on other areas and avenues
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah, learning the power of no is
Yes.
huge, and I
Yes.
also think that this is a really important aspect to it's a really important aspect to figuring out like how to say no to people, and who to say no to. And I think it's very important to make sure that like you're screening people. Like, just because you DM'd me doesn't mean that you need to be an athlete of mine, right? Like I want to have a conversation with you. Like I might can
Absolutely.
look through your pictures and see that, yeah, this guy's got a really good physique or whatever, but then I spend 30 minutes on a phone, on a video call with you, and I realize you're out of your fucking mind.
Yep.
And I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to be the one that has to manage your messed up brain or your messed up mentality about these things, unless you are willing to let that stuff go and let me just do my job.
Yep.
If you are that kind of person, then that's great. But those people are few and far between, you know, like,
Absolutely.
so it's super important for anyone who's building their team is like, just because somebody DM'd you and is ready to pay you right now, get on a call with them, talk with
Hmm.
them beforehand, and not just a message. Get on a phone call with them or get on a video call with them so you can hear their tone of voice. You can hear how they respond to the questions so that you don't end up 6 months from now hating this person and be like, please leave me alone.
Yep. I have, dude, every person that reaches out to me is because you know how it is. Everyone's like, the first question they have is like, what are your prices? Right. And it's like, I tell everyone that DMs me and asks, what are your prices? Hey man, you know, I have different options, but before that, I want to get on a call with you. I get on a call with every single person that I sign onto my roster,
Yep.
and we talk for 45 minutes, and I ask a laundry list of questions about, you know, what your routine is, what you've done in the past, what you're trying to do going forward, like all of that type of stuff. Because I want to know if we're a good fit before we even think about offering prices. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, oh, he's just trying to be a salesman. He wants to get them on a call so that he can sell them. No, I want to. Literally just today, I had a call with a guy, and you know, we were talking, and he's just going back and forth about, you know, his last coach and stuff like that. And I was like, look, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like a lot of stuff your last coach did, it's pretty similar to kind of how I do things, and I think your expectations are really, really high.
Mm-hmm.
So I just honestly don't think we'd be a good fit. And he was like, "Man, I thank you so much for saying that and not just taking my money." And I was like, It's not about the money. It's about,
Right.
you know, my life being peaceful."
There's It's funny because those calls is like, yes, it's a sales call because if you're a good fit, I want to sell you. But
Yeah.
it's honestly more or less for my own sake. It's not for you. It's not for me to sell you. It's honestly more for me to figure out, can I say no to you?
Yep.
Like,
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
don't need your money. I want people who are going to give a shit about this because I'm going to
Yep.
give you 100% if you give me 100%.
Exactly.
You're not going to get 100% from me. You're not going to get the results that you think you are if you think you're going to if you're not giving me 100%.
Exactly. And it's funny you say that because like I actually I hired a sales coach. His name's Austin Medlin. He's out of Tampa, but and that's the first thing, you know, I'm getting into it thinking I'm going to learn how to how to handle objections and all of that. And that is the case because like there are people that we get on a call with that we know we can help, but they don't want to help themselves. And
Oh
that's when you have to be a salesman, right? Like you have to talk them over the edge. Some people need that kick in the ass in order to be able to get to where you know they can go and where they know they can go, but
yes.
they have that self-doubt. But the biggest thing Austin taught me was like, dude, you can't be a salesman if you don't think that everyone's like, oh, he's a vulture, you know, like that's what you go to a car lot to buy a car and they're just like hounding you, right?
Hmm.
You that's what people think when they think of sales. Sales isn't if you do it right, it's not necessarily that you're being a salesman. It's if I know that we are going to be a good fit, I would be stupid to let you get off the phone without paying me because you're going to go and just abandon yourself and your ways of doing things once we get
Yep.
off this call because you're never going to come back. On the opposite end of that, if I don't think we're going to be a good fit, I'm going to tell you that because I'm not going to take your money if so.
100%,
So
man. Yeah,
that's
it's so important, man. And it's that kind of stuff is really refreshing for me to hear, and then for anybody listening to this that is looking for a coach, that is a very refreshing thing to hear. Like I there's been so many times where like I'm sure you get the same messages where people are like, I can 10x your sales, I can do this, that, and the other. It's like, well, yeah, because you're trying to show me how to sell. Like that's great, but the way I look at my job, I should not have to sell you. If you are already sending me a DM about my coaching or
Mhm.
applied in the link that I have,
Yep.
my work should already be speaking for itself. And then
Absolutely.
it's all about fitting it from there. And that is how when I moved to Texas, that is how I built my entire career from the ground up. I built my in-person training in 3 different locations within a 2-year time span,
Mhm.
and blew everybody out of the water that was around me, right? And got to a point where it's like in my first year as an independent trainer, my first year I made six figures.
Yep.
And I did that through my success, not because I had some fancy sales tactic, but because I
Exactly.
was able to show people I know what the fuck I'm doing. So it's the calls and stuff is not an opportunity for me to try to convince you that you need to be with me. It's for me to figure out if you're going to be a good fit for what I already have going, because you're not coming in here and messing up my team. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that
Exactly.
right now. You're not bringing
Exactly.
negative bullshit into my life.
Yep. Exactly. And it's so funny because like you see all these business coaches online now, and it's like everyone is a coach's coach now. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, I can teach you how to make $50,000 a month from coaching and blah blah blah. Yes, that's possible. Very transparently, if you can handle that workload, it is absolutely possible. That being said, how long is that going to be sustainable if you don't know how to coach?
Yep.
That's the biggest gap I see in the industry. And Justin Mahaley is doing a good job of touching on it, but still, I think there's some gaps there that need to be filled of uh, actually teaching how to critically think and how to be a coach. Because we both know at the end of the day, it's not just coaching. And somebody I just posted something earlier on Instagram about like people saying they can't afford $300 a month for coaching, and somebody commented and was like, people are way overcharging, or he said, paying that on top of food and steroids, something about that, like, you're not going to win a show with just the coach or something. And people are way overcharging for a nutrition plan. And I commented back and I was like, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate. It's not just a nutrition plan that you're getting from a good coach. A good coach, yes, sure, some coaches are giving you just a nutrition plan, but uh, full transparency here, you can go on AI or chat GPT and probably get just a nutrition plan if that's what you want. You're not paying a coach
Mm-hmm.
for the nutrition plan. You're paying a coach for nutrition, training, supplementation, cardio, steps, communication. You're paying for their time that they're not spending with their family. You're paying for the travel that they have to spend away from their family for shows. You're paying for once a week therapy sessions most times. Like, you're not just paying for a nutrition plan. A coach is
Right.
far more than that. So you can be a salesman all day and all day long. You can be a great marketer and good at social media all day long. And these business coaches can help you do that. But if you don't know how to sustain all of the other pieces that come with coaching, you're going to burn out, you're going to fail, and you're not going to make that money.
Yep. So two things to touch on in what you said there, which are all amazing points. First off, if you're a good enough coach, your sales are going to you're going to be a better salesman just by being a better coach, right? Like, sure, you could work on some wording and how you sell people and that kind of thing. Yeah, we can all be better at that, but your work should speak for itself. I shouldn't have to sell
Absolutely.
people that hard. And then
Hmm.
second, when it comes to price point, it's like, yes, you are paying for a job. You are paying for an off season or whatever it is that you need help with, but you are paying that price for the decades of work that went into that
Absolutely.
coach now being where they are, right? Like, you're
Absolutely.
not just paying for that. So you're paying for the time period that the coach took to learn all of this stuff and the experience that came along with that. Because the more people that I have had in front of me, the more I'm able to handle people coming in the future, right?
Hmm.
Because there's patterns to these things where it's like, well, I've seen this before over here, and maybe that'll work well here because of these similarities. And then maybe just those experience pieces, you start to piece these things together, right? Because it's funny because when people sell their coaching, it's always customized program. It's like, well, duh, right?
Yeah.
But the thing I always tell people is the customization comes with time. When I
Yes.
first give someone a program, it's bare bones. It's here.
Yep.
This is a diet plan that's going to work well for you. This is a training program that's going to build the things that we need to do. Here's your supplements, your cardio, and all this other stuff. As you talk to me and as we go through this process together, I'm going to go, cool. He doesn't want to eat chicken 4 times a day. Cool. Let's give him a different protein source. Oh, rice is getting bored for him. Let's give him another carb source. All right. Well,
Yep.
this type of cardio isn't working. So let's do this. This supplement isn't working. So let's do this. It's like there's this fucking Santa sack that we carry around with us of tools that we can throw at whatever. And
Hmm.
that's what you're paying for, not just, hey, give me a meal plan. Right.
Exactly. And the thing is with that is that, for one, absolutely incredible point, because it's funny, like a couple months ago, I sat down and added up everything that I've spent on. I look back at basically all the courses I've done with Dom, all of the business back end mentorships, because I have hired business coaches. Like, that's just part of being a business owner, is hiring those guys to teach you how to run a business, because it is that at the end of the day. But the first 3 years, I didn't even think about business. I didn't care about social media. I wanted my page to look like Blue Taylor's, where I have just transformation after transformation. That's the
Yeah.
only thing you see on my page, right? It
Right.
was just in the last year that I started to change that up. So what I've spent on all, education, functional health, all of Dom's courses, I've done Jeffrey Sue, Jason Theobald, Austin Stout, all of those things leading up to now, or 2 months ago is when I did it. It was like $89,000, right? That's a college tuition for most people. Now, if you take, and you made a good point, because now if you add, let's look back at the hours that I've spent on every peak I've ever done,
Hmm.
on every conversation I've ever had with a client, gaining, working through a specific case. Like, if you were to pay me hourly on that, okay, yeah, you're paying whatever, $300 to $400 a month for coaching, but you're paying me back for probably $300,000 worth of time and money that I've put into
Yeah.
being able to guide you in the right direction based off of
Right.
the experience and the knowledge that I have. On top
Right.
of, I'm not even counting my actual bachelor's degree in exercise science. That was $120,000. You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
like, we're talking $500,000 worth of time, money, and resources here.
Yep. Exactly. It's a great point, because when I started personal training at Destination, there was two guys that worked there. They're not there anymore, but they worked with NFL linemen, the offensive linemen, and Patrick was the guy who did a lot of therapy work, and he used one of those stim machines, like
Hmm.
the new fit or whatever it was,
Yep. Yep.
and he worked on me a lot during that time, and we got to talking a lot and whatnot. And he said one time, he's like, in the dude's been doing this stuff for like 20, 30 years. He's like, I've
Hmm.
spent $250,000 in just education. And that was that first time where that light bulb went off of like, I'm not doing enough. Right. And it's always like, I would need to go in through and add up everything myself as well. But it's like, thinking about that, it's like, I'm not spending enough on this. Like, I haven't put enough time into this, and my goal was like, well, if I'm going to be this expert, I need to spend that type of money. I need to do that. So that's when I poured into J3U. I poured into Dom. I did Austin Stout for a little while. I did 5 or 6 different prescript courses. I have my kinesiology degree. I have my
Hmm.
NASM. I have all these different certifications that was time and money, and all that stuff is what you're paying for, not just the 16 weeks or whatever that you work with a coach, and it's not always the case. But I think that price point, in my mind, when I set a price point, should reflect what I've done over the years, right? It should
Absolutely.
reflect like not just this moment in time right now, but everything that I've done that got me to this moment, and I think that's such an important aspect. We've it, I think this is such a good topic, and like, I'm going to keep rolling with it. I know we talked about talking about athletes, but I think it's really important for us to dive
I
into the
love
coach
this,
stuff,
man.
because it's one of those things that like we spend so much time talking about our athletes that people kind of forget that like we're humans too,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And all the stress that goes into give you a 16-week prep, and like you're 10 weeks out going, am I doing enough for this person? Are we getting the right results? Could I be doing more? And then finally it comes peak week, and you're stressed out and stuff about that. So it's like, at the same time, I'm dealing with 50 people who all have like life problems coming up that want to message me about this, that, and the other. So it's like, we're trying to basically juggle everybody else's stress, right? And
Absolutely.
keep their heads on straight while we're keeping our own heads on straight. And that's a
Yep.
difficult place to be sometimes.
Absolutely. And I was talking to, me and Nick Justice did a podcast with my athlete Parker, and we were talking about this, and it's like, I put it this way: you have 80 athletes on your team. Imagine having 80 girlfriends texting you all day, every day. Could you imagine? Like, that's more so what it's like, dude. Because it's like, of
I'd
course,
rather shoot myself.
yeah, exactly. Of course, there's like the 20, 30 who you never hear from, or you only hear from them in check-ins or whatever. But like, okay, let's just say you have 50 girlfriends texting you all day, every day. That's what it's like as a coach.
Yeah.
People don't see that. They think we just do their check-in and then we move on and go gallivant with our life. If you think that I am not stressing or putting in time, effort, energy, not sleeping, all of that, you know what I'm going to start telling people? You're more than welcome to talk to my girlfriend and see what she thinks about how much I work.
Yeah. That's such a great point.
Because
Like
I promise
every
you, she could probably sell you better than I could on how much I work. Just giving you a description of how much I work.
Yeah, even my 5-year-old could probably tell you how
Yeah,
much I work. Every time I
exactly.
walk back to this direction, he's like, "Daddy, doing work?" I was like, "Yeah, and I'm coming to work,
Yeah.
man." But yeah, it's definitely a very good analogy that you gave there, because it's like I can't tell you how many times that I put out fires 3-4 times a day with different athletes, and not to mention, like, I have to respond to check-ins, I have to update nutrition plans, I have to get back to people's training footage. Like, there's all these different things that we have to juggle and figure out
Mhm.
how to do. And there's a level of like mental resilience that comes along with that. And it's one of those things that you really, really, really have to learn how to manage time and
Absolutely.
manage when you're on and when you're off. And you need to be very, very strict with that, and make sure that your people understand that, like, look, if I don't have this time away from myself, I cannot provide you with the job that you're paying for. So it's such an important thing that we as coaches are not only balancing all those other things we've already talked about here, but then also being very stingy with our time, and making
Absolutely.
sure that you have time to separate yourself from your job hat, which is coach, right? Like, I can go to the park and leave my phone in the car with my son, right? And walk my dog and let him play on the playground and not have to worry about coaching. I can put my
Mhm.
headphones in and go train and be separated from those things. And you got to have those bubbles of time where it's like, leave me alone on for these 24 hours. You got to have that, because if you don't, you're going to end up in that spot where you hate this, and now you're the coach being like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, like.
I'll use today as an example. Today's Labor Day, and I sent out a message to my athletes yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, you know, tomorrow is Labor Day. I just got back from a week in Pittsburgh. My mom's birthday is on Tuesday. I'm spending time with my family. Please, unless it is an emergency or
Yep.
you are in prep, please do not message me until Tuesday morning. I will get back to you when I can." Now, of course, I still ended up doing some back end work and creating content and stuff like
Yeah,
that
right.
today. But it's like, I can breathe when I know that people aren't messaging me or waiting on a response, and I uh I can get other stuff done. So no, you're exactly right, and that's the biggest thing. Matt Cusano, when we first teamed up, he sat me down and he was like, okay, what does your calendar look like? What hours are you working? What hours are you available? What hours are you not available? And what hours do you have dedicated to your girlfriend and your family? And I was like, that's a great question, because I don't have any. And she was like, he was like, okay, so we're going to do that now. And we sat down and we went through my calendar and we blocked off time of when I respond, when I don't respond, when I'm with my girlfriend, when my phone's being put away. And I'm still working on it, obviously. Like, it's still,
Oh
but
yeah.
those boundaries are so freaking important, because it's just simple as like allowing clients to text you on your phone, right? Like, if you allow that, it, you know, not only are you probably going to miss their message because your friends and family and everyone else is texting you, but like also you're just going to burn yourself out, because you're going to be getting text messages at 10 p.m. at night when you're trying to go to sleep, but in the back of your mind you don't want to go to sleep until you get that text message answered, and it's just like it just becomes too much. You have to have those strict boundaries.
Yep, 100%. And I've become more and more strict with that. Like, hey, look, I work from this time to this time. Messages after this will be responded to the next day. If you message me after work hours on Saturday, you're going to hear from me on Monday. Like, Sunday's a day off. If you didn't get it to me early Saturday, just we'll get to it on Monday. If it's something
Exactly.
very important and urgent, I always have my phone on me, so I'm going to get back to people. But one of the really, really important things for us to drive home here is the only reason that myself or Taylor or any coach can message their team and go, hey, I need a couple of days to just relax or do whatever it is because you have poured so much into those people.
Yes. Yes.
If you were like every other weekend, be like, oh, I need time away, don't message me. They're gonna be like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy, right? But it's
Exactly.
like when they see how much you're pouring into all these different things, they start to realize, like, oh yeah, he needs some space too, right?
Hmm.
And that's so critical if you're going to get us to a spot where you're handling 80, 100, 120 plus people. If you're going to be
Absolutely.
juggling all these different athletes and putting a people on stage across an entire calendar year, if you're not putting those boundaries up, you're going to end up in a spot where you don't make it through that year.
Yep. And that's another social media thing too, to where there's these
Yeah.
coaches that have 10 to 20 athletes or clients. They're not even athletes most of the time. And they're like, if your coach doesn't respond to you in 24 hours, you need to hire a new coach. And I'm like, yeah, bro, okay, you can respond to your clients in 10 minutes because you only have 20 of them. So probably 5 of them are texting you often,
Right.
like stop making unrealistic expectations for these clients out here who are expecting these things when that's not how the world works.
Right.
Like that's not how this industry works. I guarantee you, Chris Aceto, when he was coaching at his peak and had the most people on his team, I guarantee you didn't send him an email and get one back in get a email back in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like let's be realistic here for the people who are coaching more than 10, 20 people.
Right. Yeah. And like my people are very well accustomed to like me responding very quickly during work hours and then me not responding during off hours, and like I like
Absolutely.
to make sure that I'm able to communicate with my people very quickly, but if it's something that doesn't need to be responded to right away, I'm probably going to get to it later. And
Mm-hmm.
you also have to look at your roster in an order of priorities, right? Like if I've got somebody who's 2 weeks out and that person messages me, I don't care what time of day it is. I'm going to look at it and I'm going to respond to it because it's something that's
Absolutely.
probably important because we don't have a
Exactly.
lot of time left, right?
Exactly.
Now, if you're 2 weeks out, but then I have a 16-week out guy, yeah, you're still not the number one priority, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get ranked in that system. If you're an off-season athlete or if you're a lifestyle athlete or whatever, you have to understand that like you're going to be not the number one priority, and that's got to scale up and down. That's also an interesting aspect to kind of touch on there is like it's hard for athletes to understand sometimes. It's like when we're really close to show, we're going to be talking a lot and I'm going to be up your
Mm-hmm.
ass. Like we're going to be really on top of these things. And then when the show's done, that shifts. And that can be a difficult spot for people to be in too, where it's like, oh, well, now he's not talking to me all the time. Like what's wrong? It's like, nothing's wrong. You just don't need that much anymore,
Yeah, exactly. Let's be honest. Like I would say the first 4 weeks after a show is still going to be a lot more communication than normal. But like, let's be honest, if you're knee deep in the off season, if you're 6 months into your off season or 8 months out from a show, what could possibly be happening that's important enough to where you need an answer in the next 12 hours? Like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, yes, there are times where things come up and you need an answer, but like, do you really? Like, there are a lot of big name coaches out here, or you're only talking to them every 2 weeks. You're
Yeah.
only checking in bi-weekly in the off season. I'll give a good example here. And Matt Jansen is one of the guys that I've always looked up to as a coach. He was my first real coach. I had someone that prepped me, but I don't consider him a coach. The first real coach, high level name that I ever worked with was when I was in college. Actually, it's funny. I took out a loan to pay Matt Jansen for a year of coaching. And, and it was like a Wednesday afternoon, like 4 p.m. And I had a question about something on my meal plan or a supplement or something. So I messaged him on WhatsApp and I asked him, and he responded back to me and said, "Hey man," and my check-in days we're on Mondays or Tuesdays or something. And he responded back to me and was like, "Hey man, this sounds like a really good question for your check-ins, not 4 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon when I'm trying to spend time with my family." And I was like, you know what? You have a
Good
point,
point.
brother. And I never messaged him outside of my check-in or his, unless it was super important ever again. And I
No.
use that because that is an extreme example, but it's also like it makes sense.
Yep. 100%. Yeah, and it's all a matter of like how the relation again, this comes back to like the relationship of a coach and a client. It's like you got to have that relationship to let people know like, hey, look, I'm going to get back to you when I have some time. And as the athlete, you also have to be understanding of that. You have to be understanding that like, yeah, okay, I get it. I don't need this right this minute. It's like
Hmm.
the other thing that people need to understand is like you're also an adult. Like you
Hmm.
can make informed decisions on your
Yes.
own without me having to
Yes.
hold your hand, for the most
Yes.
part. Like, sure, there's going to be certain things that we really need to have a conversation on. But like, if you're messaging me because the grocery store is out of ground turkey that day, bro, figure it
Yeah.
out. that's
Literally
that's
look at
the
the meat
least of our
section,
concerns.
look at everything in the meat section and flip the label over and see which one matches, and you can use
Yeah,
that one.
right. Yeah, exactly. So it's like you also need to have some semblance of autonomy and be able to make decisions for
Yes,
yourself. It's like
exactly.
you are an adult. Make an adult decision here. You're not my 5-year-old who's still learning how all this shit works. But
Yeah, exactly. It's funny though. I think a lot of people hire us because they don't want to have to think on their own. Like, You know, like they want like some type of like reassurance or security and knowing that they can ask just whatever question in the world it is, and they're gonna get you know. So no, I agree with you 100%.
Right. But I also think there's a big aspect to like making people think for themselves. Like
Yeah, for sure.
let's have a conversation about this and make sure that this is something that you understand, right?
Yep.
Because if I'm going to ask you to do something, one of the number one ways for me to get you to do it and do it at the best level is to make sure you're bought into it, right? And make sure you understand the reasoning behind it. So, all that stuff is incredibly important when it comes to fostering a relationship with a coach and an athlete, and to make sure that it's all cohesive and you guys work well together, going back to the stuff we talked about earlier. So
Mhm.
but yeah, man, we'll start to wrap up there because I need to go get the dog from daycare.
Yeah,
But
for sure,
you
man.
want plug any of your stuff? Where can people find your coaching? Where's all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel, Coach Taylor Moore is my name on there. Just a couple podcasts and some day in the life videos. The main place to be able to find me is at Taylor Moore _7 on Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time at. And you know, if you're interested in working together or whatever the case may be, there's a link in my bio. Super easy. Just book a call.
Yep, we're all pretty simple. It's all links and bios and applications. Just
Easy.
hit us up.
Yeah, exactly.
But dude, I appreciate you a lot, man. I think that was a really good topic that a lot of people are really going to enjoy there.
For
But
sure, man. I appreciate you for having me on, and I'm more than happy to chop it up whenever.
awesome, dude. I appreciate you so much. Anybody still
Of course.
watching? Thank you for joining in and listening today. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, leave something down below. Let us know what you thought of the episode. We'll catch you on the next one.